Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd, and this is my quick review of the last two episodes of Season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy. And as I said before, I think the show is very good visually, it is very pretty looking, and some of the characters are cute and funny, and so overall, it's not a bad show in my opinion, even though it's nothing special to my eyes at least. Maybe kids would like it more because for them it will all seem fresh. There was nothing that annoyed me in terms of continuity with the rest of the Star Trek franchise. It was separate enough as not to mess anything up in the rest of the franchise, and it kind of stayed true to some of the ideas, some of the technology levels, and all of that, so it was not annoying to me. It can be a decent science fiction show, and I tried to show this to my nephew who is 4.5 years old, and he did not like it at all for some reason. He hated it, did not want to watch this show. It was a surprise to me because he always loved to see starships and stuff like that I showed him, so I thought maybe I can watch it together with him, kill two birds with one stone when I'm babysitting him, but he refuses to watch it for some reason. So it seems to me like it's not that good for kids of that age at least, so I'm not sure what age would be best. And it's strange how they put legacy characters in there that only old fans will know who they are. And so if you want to introduce kids to Star Trek using this cartoon, but then you have all these legacy characters showing up, like Janeway, and they had that episode with a bunch of holograms of different characters from the previous shows, the kids wouldn't know who they are, and so why should they care about those characters? And so it's kind of a strange mashup of the target audience that they're aiming for. It's kind of unclear what they're doing, so they should kind of pick what they want to do. They should either aim it at kids and do a show appropriate for kids, or make it more adult, more serious, more thought-provoking for adults. Otherwise it will seem kind of boring, because an adult watching this, I might enjoy the visuals, but the story has to be kind of simplistic so kids will get it, and so it will not be that interesting in terms of story or ideas, and so I'm not sure how it can work. But at least visually the show is very good, so I give them points for that. And even the villains kind of grew on me. There were some moments that were kind of cool and all of that, and so I get what they're doing, even though there's not a lot of originality in the show, not a lot of imagination, because it's kind of a mashup of a bunch of ideas I saw in a million other places before, and so there's nothing really that original, but it's not really a problem for kids watching who have not seen stuff like that before. And what's weird about the last episode is how quickly they suddenly decided to wrap everything up. Like, they had a perfect setup, at least for a while, and yet suddenly in the end of the season they go back and suddenly defeat those villains easily, and that's apparently it, even though I guess they can come back later again, but they came back and they freed all the slaves that we saw in the first episode, and defeated the bad guys, and that's it. And now they're going to the Federation. The only interesting part in that is that the villain planted something in the ship that if it reaches the rest of Starfleet, it will infect all their ships and destroy them or something, and his motivation is luckily a little bit more interesting and complex than what originally I thought. Is just going to be him wanting to take over the galaxy for no reason, and so at least they gave him kind of a necessary evil kind of motivation, that he wants to save his home planet because apparently it wasn't destroyed yet. It's going to be destroyed in the future because of something that Starfleet does to it in the future. Like they said, they made first contact with it and it caused the civil war on the planet, which destroyed the planet, and this guy is from the future who now wants to destroy Starfleet to save his own people. So at least it's not kind of a black and white villain. Like, at least they gave him some kind of motivation than just wanting to conquer everyone for no reason. And it also challenged the title character of the Prodigy, who is his daughter, and when he tells her that there is some conflict in her and all of that, and that's always, that makes for good drama, good character moments. When it's not black and white, when a character is conflicted, it's always more interesting when it's complex. But it's also still kind of stupid at the same time, because it kind of reminds me of Nero from the 2009 movie, that also came back from the future and just wants to destroy Starfleet because Starfleet didn't save his planet in the future or something. Instead of simply going to his own planet and just doing what he can to save them directly, instead it's like a convoluted revenge plot for something that technically hasn't happened yet. And so it kind of reminds me of that in a bad way. Like, the villain is kind of stupid. Like, that's your best plan when you come back in time from the future with advanced technology, and you can simply go to your home planet and simply tell them what's going to happen or give them the advanced technology or something. No, instead you're going to this convoluted revenge plot to destroy Starfleet to prevent it. Like, it doesn't really make sense if you think about it. So it's also kind of disappointing at the same time, but it's not as bad as it could have been if they simply made him a one-dimensional villain that just wants to destroy everyone for no reason, absolutely. So it's a little bit better than what I expected, but still not really as clever as it could have been. I wish they would have done it better, and technically they can. They could have said this is future guy from Enterprise, that he has some kind of plan to change the whole galaxy according to his vision or something. Like, invent some new ideas, add some interesting elements, tie up loose ends from previous shows. They can do so much stuff, but they didn't, and so it seems like a recycled Nero from the 2009 movie, done slightly better because Nero was basically just stupid and crazy because, he sat around for 30 years not doing anything at all, simply because he waited for Spock to arrive because he wanted to torment him first. So he had 30 years to save his planet, but he did absolutely nothing simply because he wanted to show off to Spock. So that was probably the most idiotic villain in the entire Star Trek franchise, in my opinion. So this guy is not as bad as Nero, and I kind of like that he has a daughter who is on the side of the heroes, and so that adds some drama, like Darth Vader and Luke and all of that. So again, not really that original, but does have some potential. But what's disappointing in the end of the season is how quickly they suddenly wrapped everything up. So they set up these villains, they set up all these stakes, and then suddenly they defeat the villains, and that's it. The only problem is that they don't know the daughter's memory was erased, and so she doesn't know that the ship is a trap, that if it gets to Starfleet, it might destroy all of Starfleet. That's the cliffhanger, and then we see the real Admiral Janeway, who is also looking for the same ship, and her ship looks kind of like an updated Voyager design. So I guess it has potential. I guess it can be a good show if the writing is good. And there were some cool ideas, like the vehicle replicator in the shuttle bay that should have been shown in Star Trek Voyager. That would have explained how come they had infinite amount of shuttles, losing a shuttle every week and still having more when the ship wasn't big enough to have that many. And so that kind of thing could have explained that. Maybe they can have more guest appearances by old Star Trek characters, even though, again, if it's a show for kids, then why bother doing that when the kids won't know who any of these guys are? And in fact, maybe this show could have worked better as a prequel. And usually I'm against prequels because they always mess things up, it's always less interesting. But if it's a show that is supposed to be for kids, maybe it could have been a good way to start with, to introduce a child to Star Trek by first showing him a cartoon that is easy to follow. And if it actually had some characters in their youth before the other shows, then it will be easier to get into the other shows later. So in this case of a cartoon aimed for kids, maybe a prequel would actually be more appropriate. It will make more sense than showing us legacy characters who the kids will not know about. It will simply confuse them if I later want to show the kid Voyager, and then he'll recognize, oh wait, but that's the Admiral I saw in the cartoon. How come she's just a captain now? It will just confuse the child. And so that's why I don't get why they are doing it in this way. It actually could have worked better as a prequel, as a way to introduce a kid to the universe of Star Trek in a smooth way. So anyway, that's my thoughts about Season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy. Let me know what you think, and we can discuss all of this in the comments below. And I will see you all next time. Bye bye.